Let me start off the course by talking a little bit about what exactly I mean when I say modern home. Technically speaking, the term modern in interior design is typically referring to mid-century modern, which is a design style of its own that emerged in the mid-20th century. Now, when I talk about modern home in this course, I'm actually referring to that factor of minimalism and simplicity shared across many styles, including Scandinavian, modern farmhouse, contemporary, and other styles we will be covering in this lecture. I didn't want to use the term minimalist interiors because a lot of people have the tendency to think large concrete box when they hear that term, so instead I decided to use the term modern to refer to that clean and simple aesthetic that many styles adopt. So, without further delay, let's take a look at some of these styles. The first style that we're going to be talking about is Scandinavian. This is a Nordic style originating from countries like Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Norway. It is characterized by simplicity, airiness, and utility. The opulent use of white and light wood tones such as birch, oak, pine, and ash gives it a bright yet warm feel. Nordic culture embraced an egalitarian approach to design, resulting in a strong emphasis on functionalism to make the most of their minimal yet elegant belongings. As you can see in these images, Scandinavian design is devoid of clutter, light and bright to cope with the long, dark northern winters, and makes the most out of a simple, clean, and natural color palette that certainly evokes feelings of warmth and comfort. Scandinavian designers gave us many beloved furniture pieces we still commonly use today. Just take a look at this slide. I'm sure you recognize quite a few famous chairs. Now, let's talk about our next style, mid-century modern. As I mentioned earlier, this style emerged in the mid-20th century and is characterized by clean lines, smooth angles, and gentle curves. With mid-century modern came the slogan, "Form follows function," which emphasized functionality and kept ornamentation to a minimum. With the advancement of technology came new explorations in materials like plastic, plexiglass, and vinyl. This led to the emergence of new forms as well as colors, such as chartreuse, rust orange, and teal blues. The rest of the palette consists of whites, grays, and lots of wood, usually medium to dark wood tones, such as walnut, teak, and oak. As you can see in these images, mid-century modern style features some of the most iconic furniture pieces of all time, including the Eames chair, Noguchi table, Nelson lamps, among others. Next up, we have the industrial style. This style emerged as a result of abandoned industrial warehouses and factories that were repurposed into livable urban units in large cities. This style is commonly preferred in urban lofts and condos with tall ceilings that showcase pipes, exposed structural and mechanical elements, as well as unfinished and exposed brick or concrete walls. Wood and greenery compensate for the heavily industrial palette by introducing warmth, especially large plants that are not dwarfed by the tall ceilings. Large industrial-style metal light fixtures and metal bar stools and chairs will feel right at home here. Next, let's talk about the rustic style, also commonly known as modern farmhouse. This is a cozy yet clutter-free style with an old country feel to it. It features reclaimed wood, metals like wrought iron, and is often paired with traditional yet classic pieces of furniture, devoid of any frills, of course. Picnic-style tables and benches, inset or glass cabinet doors, lantern chandeliers, these are all signs of a modern farmhouse interior. The palette is primarily neutral, with some earthy tones as accents. Lots of reclaimed wood. White painted cabinetry is also really common in this style. Although I'm using rustic and modern farmhouse interchangeably for this course, there is a subtle distinction between the two. Rustic style has a more raw and unrefined look, characterized by elements like rugged stone walls and heavy timber framing. As opposed to modern farmhouse, this is a more refined style. But for the purpose of this course, I'm choosing to lump them together because they do share quite a lot of similarities. Next up, we have modern French. This is probably one of the most elegant of styles you will see today. Characterized by delicate curves and ornamentation, it emits a bit of a feminine vibe. Best implemented in bright, tall spaces with delicate French moldings, it is a subdued and minimalist evolution of the more flamboyant Baroque and Rococo styles of the past. A neutral palette consisting of whites, taupes, and grays will feel right at home here. Also consider mixing in some pale blues or greens into your palette for added finesse. This style can also be executed with dark punches of cool colors such as peacock blues, teals, charcoal grays, and black to create mood and added drama to your space. Delicate French-style furniture pieces such as armoires and chaise lounges can add extra character to the style. Don't overdo it though, just 1 or 2 select pieces is sufficient. Let your moldings and light fixtures do most of the work. Contrasting, clean-lined, modern furniture is a great choice to stick to for this style. Finally, strategically placed crystal chandeliers can do wonders for the style. So can gilded accessories, especially large ornate mirrors paired with minimalist modern art. And now, last but not least, we have our contemporary style. Contemporary basically means what is current. This is a fluid style which is ever-changing and often can be a melange of ongoing trends. Today it is common to see straight, clean lines and geometric shapes accompanied by a versatile color palette consisting primarily of whites and neutrals with bold pops of colors like red as accents. Stark contrasts, especially with monochromatic schemes, are typical. You'll see lots of chrome and mirrors in the market today. I personally think people tend to go a little overboard with those, resulting in spaces that look like an urban bachelor pad. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but I would advise keeping the shininess to a minimum. It has a tendency to make spaces feel a little cold. Natural, sustainable materials also play a big part in contemporary design. You will also notice that spaces tend to flow together with the use of open floor plans, which are favored for a more airy and bright feel. In these cases, rugs are useful to define zones. Large openings attempt to make a connection to the outdoors and flood the spaces with light, probably one of the most desirable qualities of modern design. So those are all the styles that we're going to be talking about in this lecture. Unlike the images you see, most often than not, people tend to blend styles as opposed to stick truly to a single one. Since all the styles we talked about are minimalist in nature, it is easy to mix them up a little. For example, this project by Jessica Helgeson is a fresh take on mid-century modern. It minimizes the warm wood tones typically associated with the style and instead pairs it with a bright white palette with green accents. It's quite beautiful. These mid-century modern chairs with a Scandinavian color palette and what could be categorized as industrial lighting fixtures blend well together thanks to the common white color palette that they share. When trying to mix styles, you want to be sure to create harmony and unity among the objects. Try to do this with either the color palette, material, shape, or any other noticeable unifying element. Here's an image from one of my projects. Keeping in mind the client's desires, it pairs contemporary furniture with Indian accents. We selected muted tones, gentle curves, and a contemporary style for the dining table and chairs to act as a clean and non-distracting slate for the accents. Then we added the Indian touch with the art, vases, and table runner. There are some basic rules you can follow when trying to meld styles. You can implement the 80-20 rule. This involves picking a prominent style, which will make up roughly 80% of the room, and then pairing it with an accent style utilizing 20% of the room. Try to distribute the accents evenly throughout the space, instead of gathering it all in one corner. This will create a flow, and the distinction won't stick out like a sore thumb. This is another room from the same project. It showcases African art and Indian handlooms with minimal contemporary furniture, all tied together by a common color palette consisting of neutrals and the accent color red.